This past week, we read several books of the Bible. We read Second Chronicles 36. And what was interesting is that this was talking about four different kings who did not do right by God. And because of that, they were defeated. The common factor was that they were all who we can refer to today as youths. They were in their 20s, 18s when they became king. And we read their story back in the book of Kings. And some of the things they did wrong was as a result of their peer advice, not pressure actually. It was their peers advising them. And when they followed the advice of their peers, they were going against God. And so that just reiterates what I've always said, that the company we keep can either make us or break us. Then we read Psalm 137, which just talks about the captivity of the children of Israel and how they were taken as slaves to a foreign land. Then we went to the book of Daniel. And in Daniel chapter 1, verse 8, it says that Daniel proposed in his heart. What that tells us is that the decisions we make actually starts from our mind. The Bible says that we should guard our mind with all jealousy, for out of it comes the issues of life. So what we think about makes a whole lot of difference about what comes out from our mouth and what we do. In chapter 2, Daniel turned to God in the time of trouble, and that is what we should all learn to do. Turn to God in the time of trouble, because that was when the king said they should interpret his dream, and only Daniel and his friends were able to do that. And then in chapter 3, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they did the same thing. They held on to God when they were going to be put in the fiery furnace. And the same fire that slew the people that threw them in was the same fire that did not burn Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And then the king said that he saw the fourth person and that his look was like that of the Son of God. So this just tells us that whatever we're going through, God is in it with us. When those challenges come, God is in it with us. Chapter 6 shows that jealousy is evil. The other princes were looking for flaws with Daniel, and they said the only way they could find a flaw with him was with the God that he serves. That to me is a good legacy. And so we should learn to leave good legacies and we should be truthful to our word. And that's just talking about integrity and honesty and being truthful to what we say we are. He was thrown into the lion's den, but God was there with him again. And so, like I said, even in the time of trouble, when it seems like nobody is with us, God is with us. And then we move on to the rest of Daniel, and from that Daniel chapter 7 onwards till 12. It was just God using Daniel to speak to the atrocities going on in the land, how the kings were not doing what God said they should do, and what was going to happen to them. And then in chapter 10, that was when Daniel fasted for 21 days. And I believe that's the origin of what they call today the Daniel fast. He actually fasted for 21 days, and that's the origin of Daniel fast. Then we move on to Ezekiel. Ezekiel, which read chapters 1 through 11. He was a prophet of God used by God to deliver his message to his people, just like he did with Jeremiah. Most part of what we read was God showing Ezekiel all the atrocities performed by God's children, serving idols, not doing what God said he should do. Then in chapter 11, we see the loving side of God. What do I mean? Though God said through Ezekiel that he allowed the children of Israel to be taken captive, he said that he will still watch over them even in captivity and that he will make sure that they are okay in captivity. So, like I said earlier, God is always with us. no matter what we are going through. And we should learn to call on God, even when it seems like things are not working the way we expect them to. Know that God is with you even in that situation. And I pray that you have a blessed week.